Good, good, good. Okay. Looks like I am live. How's everybody doing? I'm going to give it just a moment for people to hop on. Happy Wednesday. Let me know if you're live. Let me know that you're here. Give me a little hi. Okay. Oh, golly, now I'm hearing myself. Hold on. Okay. All right, let's just make sure. Let me know if you can hear me. Let me know if the video looks okay. Let me know that you're here. Okay, okay. It looks okay on my end. Yes, okay. I'm gonna give it just another minute here for people to join, and then I'm gonna jump on in to today's topic. If you're live, let's say hello. Hi, Dawn. Good, good. Thank you, my dear. Thank you. Yeah, I always check it on my phone, but it's better to just be able to tell from somebody else. So thank you, Dawn. All right, we're gonna get started here in about 30 seconds. I don't know if you guys can hear, but my neighbors, like my faraway neighbors, are blasting music. And it's actually kind of got good energy, but it's not my kind of music, but it's good energy, but it's really loud. I don't know if you're gonna be able to hear it. They're super, super far away. Okay, I am gonna jump into to today's topic. And yeah, I'm gonna just jump into today's topic. I got a little bit sidetracked on my way into this call, into this live, because something just intuitively inspired me to look at something, and I'll share it sort of towards the end. And it totally relates to what I'm talking to at the end of today. But I got emotional and inspired and emotional again about it. Because basically it inspired a whole nother live. So I'm gonna try to wait and talk about it at the end and then give it its own live, because it's actually a really, really big topic. And it's something that I see a lot of people challenged with. But anyway, I'm talking about something that I'm not even telling you what it is, because I don't want to spoil it. I want to give some thought to that live and present that live separately. But I am getting grounded here because just before I hopped on this call, I got this other idea for another live. So bear with me as I come into this space and I ground myself in. Okay, so you can't hear the music. Good, good, good. Okay, hi, Christine. Welcome, my dear. Happy to see you here. If you're live, say hi. Let me know who's on. So what I'm gonna do today is I'm gonna talk about, the topic for today is called Step Boldly into Your Next Chapter. And you've been hearing me, for those of you who've been paying attention or in my world for particularly the last month, thank you for the heart. Hi, Allison. I've been talking a lot about Evolve. Evolve is my group coaching program. Evolve is a word that I use a lot because I believe in the evolution of ourselves as souls, as humans. We're here to learn. And also the evolution of not just our business, but also ourselves as business owners. We evolve over time in partnership with our business, in partnership with what we create. And so that's why my program is called Evolve, because it's like one of my favorite words and it perfectly describes that program. And one of the things that you will never hear me stop talking about is this concept of moving into, I don't want to say continually, because I think it's important when you've moved into a new chapter, and it's really, really hard for a lot of us entrepreneurs to like stay put for a minute, right? We have all these ideas and things that we want to do, and it's like, it feels like in many ways we are constantly evolving. And on the one hand, I believe that that's true. But on the other hand, I think it's appropriate and ideal to strike a balance in our businesses between taking a moment to live in the chapter that we're in, be focused on the things that we're focused on, while simultaneously growing. There's I think it's Sophia Bush, the actress, said, You're allowed to be a masterpiece and a work in progress at the same time. And I think that's the tension or the balance, and the balance that we ideally strike or seek to hold in our businesses, where we're continuing to grow as people and our business is continuing to grow. When I say grow, like that might mean money, that might mean income, that might mean impact, but it also might just mean growing, evolve. That's why I use the term evolve, growing and expanding and evolving over time into what your business is at each stage. And so that's why today is called Stepping Boldly into Your Next Chapter, because I believe that paying attention to and being aware of and being intentional about where we are in our current chapter. Are we at the beginning of a new chapter? Are we in a new chapter? Maybe oftentimes we start to notice that we're at the end of a new chapter. We may or may not know what our next chapter is in our business. But I think the awareness of where you are in your process, and then also where you want to go. And that's what we're going to be talking about today. Obviously, it's called Step into Your Next Chapter. So I guess my preface for all of this entire topic is there's a time to change. I'm hearing like birds song now. There's a time to change, and then there's a time to stick with what you have. And so this conversation is about, this topic for today is about when it is time for change, right? So just acknowledging that, because I do think so many of us, okay, now this is for somebody, my nose is itching again. So many of us want to keep going. And on the one hand, that's amazing. But on the other hand, then that means we lack commitment and dedication and focus to the space that we're in this moment. Okay. Hi, Debbie. Debbie's actually catching me live. Hello. So stepping boldly into your next chapter, the first thing I want to talk about, I'm going to move my view for just a second because I'm watching myself and I'm delayed. It's really distracting. So I'm just going to see if I can split my screen here. Bear with me, guys. Technology is getting the better of me because I'm watching. It's not working. Here we go. Okay. Yeah, that's going to be it. Okay. I am able to see comments. I think, yes. Awesome. Okay. So stepping boldly into your next chapter, the first thing I'm going to talk about is there are several different types of changes when we go through changes in our business. And I think it's really important to start this conversation with understanding the different types of changes that you can have, because sometimes when we can't see the forest for the trees, it helps to just at least define the change and define the type of change that we're in, because it helps us understand what's happening. And then I'm going to give you a few tips around how you can actually work best with that change. So first, I'm going to talk about the different types of change that you can make in your business, the different types of next chapters that you could be creating. For those of you who are live, I'm going to ask you a couple questions to participate if you'd like to join me in the participation part of this. And then we're going to talk about how to step boldly into that next chapter and what boldly means. And I guess I'm going to talk a little bit about what boldly means. Yeah. And how to do it from a place of clarity. And that's why I love the term stepping boldly into your next chapter, not just like half-assedly or like throw spaghetti against the wall type of approach into your next chapter. And there's nothing wrong with that. I actually am really good at that style of new chapter, particularly in my life. But in business in particular, we do a much better job energetically because we have people that we're trying to pull in, right, to our business, clients and customers. Ideally, we do that with a little bit of structure, a lot of clarity. And so I'm going to talk about how to boldly step. Okay. So let me know if you have questions as I go. Interrupt me. Well, you can't interrupt me, but you can interrupt me. And then I'm just going to turn on my comments here so that I can see you. Okay. Let me know if this is making sense. Okay. So first off, defining the type of change that you're in. So I think there are two major types of change. I sort of like almost grabbed a whiteboard and like put it up here because I sort of wanted to like write this out for you, but I'm not going to. So I think there are two major types of change. And then one of these types I think has multiple sort of subtypes in there. So there's the type of change that happens to you. And then there's the type of change that you create yourself. Sometimes there's this like funky blend in between, right? A lot of times we're thinking about making a change, or we're sort of dissatisfied with something, and then change happens to us and we're like, okay, cool, yeah, I'm good, because I wanted to move on anyway. And I just, you know, the universe sort of speeds you along with this like event, right? When I left corporate, I had been planning to leave my corporate job for, God, 4 years maybe. I wanted to end that career and move into another one. And the only thing that slowed me down was I didn't know what my next chapter was. I didn't know what I wanted to do at the time. And so I stayed where I was until my plan was to stay where I was until I figured it out. And then one day I lost my job and I was like, okay, I guess I'm moving now, right? So on the one hand, I had started the process in my own head. This is one that's sort of a combination, but I started the process in my own head of, this is not my long-term career anymore. I want to move into something else. So I started that process, and then the universe stepped in and created the change for me. And then I had to create the change on the other side, right? Respond to that change and create a new career. So there's the kind of change that happens to you. Lots of people experienced change happening to them last year with COVID, right? Just in general, your whole life, all of our lives changed, right? But then many people's businesses, and this is all about business, many people's businesses changed, especially those people who have brick and mortar, in-person client type businesses. I think everybody I know that had a brick and mortar company had to adjust, right? Change happened to you in that example. So change is imposed upon you, type 1. Type 2, you decide to create a change. Okay, let me know if this is making sense. Okay, those are simple, right? Usually we know which one of those we're in. Again, sometimes we're in a little bit of hybrid of those types. So for those two, those are pretty clear, right? And so oftentimes, right, think about, so I spent my entire first career studying change, studying psychology, studying human behavior, studying sociology, studying change at an individual level, but also at a group level. And I was a business consultant. I consulted to organizations around how to implement changes in the workplace. And so much of what we learned there was how people respond and how to help. I had to learn how to help an organization manage that change, navigate that change, and implement that change in a way that people in the companies could receive it. Because so many times, right, and we always had to like take the groups of people in the organization and understand how they were going to be affected by the change. So oftentimes there were always groups of people that were like, sweet, this change works for me, I'm on it. Yep, I'm going to take that and implement or do what I need to do, in relation to this change. And then of course there were people in the organization that this really kind of screwed up their way, right, of being. And so those people needed to be communicated to differently. Those people needed to be request feedback to understand how they're receiving the information, understand what they know, how, what their gripes are, so that the organization could sort of figure out how or if they were going to respond to it. So understand, part of what I have spent my life doing is understanding what happens to us when we change, right? And so when you take just those first two examples of the types of change, and I can geek out about this and talk about it for the rest of my life. But when you just look at those two types of change, we typically respond very differently to those two types, right? Most of us, when change happens upon us, we're not like, sweet, awesome, right? Even though for me, when I lost my job, I knew in the long run that was the right thing for me. I was really unhappy in my very, very last position. And yet that didn't really work for me. I freaked out because I needed an income, right? I was a single person living in a big city and I needed an income. So even in that example where in the long term, I knew it was a welcome change, I still wanted to control my exit from that career. I didn't want it to boot me out, right? So think about how you react differently to the changes that are imposed upon you, right? We typically don't handle those as well. even if they're welcome changes. And then the changes that you create, oftentimes we get really excited about it, but then there's always an adjustment period and a transition period. If you're going through any sort of change and you're having a hard time with it, one of my favorite books is called Transitions by William Bridges, and he talks about there's 3 phases of the change, whether it's no matter which type of change it is. It starts with the ending. Then you move into a neutral zone where you're kind of maybe not in the old chapter, but you're not really in the new chapter yet either. And the neutral zone is sort of confusing, right? It's this, and it really feels like limbo. And this is, I mean, as you all know, this is not a formulaic model. That the idea is you can be in multiple phases at once, or different parts of the change can be in multiple phases at once. It's not linear, excuse me, that's the word I was looking for. So then you're in the neutral zone, what the fuck, right? And then you're in the new. And even when you have a change that is good, like when people get married, right? People choose, usually in this modern age, they choose who they want to marry, and they're usually really excited about that. But then reality sets in, and let's just pretend it's a traditional way of doing things where they didn't live together before and then they live together, right? Or even that change. You don't live together, you're together, and then you take up your relationship to the next level and you move in together before you get married, or maybe you never get married because that's not your thing, right? But whatever it is, when you make that commitment to each other and you're living together, it's like, okay, I chose this, but holy shit, this is a transition, right? Like, I kind of like that. Why do you do that to the dishes? And like, why are you on your phone when I'm trying to talk to you? And you never used to do that when we were living separately, right? It's still a transition, and you have to manage yourself through all 3 phases. And you have to be aware of what's happening for you as you go through. Okay, so those are the 2 big. Change happens to you, you create change. It's still a transition. It's still something to pay attention to in your business. Now, when, again, most people know which change of those 2 that they're in. What gets, I think, helpful is when you can differentiate which change you're creating, because this is what I see happen for most business owners. Yes, there's always the external environment that can affect us. And we, like I said, we saw that last year with COVID. And part of, I think, the nature of being an entrepreneur is wanting to change it up, right? Wanting to create something else, wanting to, whatever it is. The creativity is out of control with us, right? And that's why a lot of people feel like they have ADHD, whether they actually do or not, because it's just like all these things, right? So Debbie says, yeah, Debbie's a therapist. Debbie says Transitions is a great book. Yeah, I love it. I recommend it all the time. In fact, I don't own a copy anymore because I used to just always, every time I had a copy, I would give it away to somebody. Okay. So of the changes that you create, I think, tell me if you have an additional category that I'm missing, but I think there are 3 major categories in the types of change that you create for yourself in your business. Number 1 is, I'm going to just call it tangible and external. So it's something that someone on the other outside of your business would probably be able to see, or a team member of yours in your business would be able to see. So something more external, more tangible, such as moving your business in a completely different direction or a slightly different direction, changing the types of customers that you serve, changing your strategy, right? Even though like you could maybe argue that strategy is intangible, I think it's pretty tangible because there's usually something that you can maybe not physically touch, but like maybe your social media marketing plan is then different, right? Like that's part of your strategy. Who you serve, I guess all of this is strategy. But as you change these things, there is something a little more tangible and obvious. And I'm just it's not external, but it might be externally facing to your business. Maybe you change your team. Maybe you bring on new people or you let somebody go, right? Or both. So for me, this tangible external thing is like something that's kind of obvious that someone could see. Okay. Then there's the intangible. And I really feel like that is, and again, I don't really love this term tangible, intangible, but it's the best word I've been able to come up with to discuss this. So if you have a better word, share. Intangible is internal. It's mindset, it's energy, it's what shifts within you as a person who is an expert at your craft, what shifts within you as a person who is a business owner, right? Think about, if you look at the trajectory or the past of the history of your business, you've probably grown in those two ways, right? You've grown as a business owner, and you've evolved as a business owner, and then you've grown and evolved as the person who is the master of your craft, right? Maybe you continue to do continuing education. Maybe you have amped up the service, you know, the way that you can really support your clients because you're just better at what you do, right? So to me, that's the intangible. That's what I'm calling intangible, internal mindset, but it doesn't have to just be mindset work. So this is when you, I think when you, oftentimes that's what you create. Sometimes you create it on purpose. Sometimes it just happens, right? I think when we set out to create this type of change in our business, it comes in the form of something like this. You know what? It's time for me to be confident in my role as a business owner. I'm tired of not feeling confident in myself. I'm tired of being insecure. I'm tired of being, you know, not being able to make a decision. I'm tired of not feeling like I can make a decision and then stick with it. So I'm gonna become a confident business owner, and I'm gonna do what I need to do to support myself to become a confident business owner. Okay, so that's an intangible internal change that you've made the decision to change, right? This is when you identify a mindset issue that you're ready to free yourself of and transform. This is when you step into your power. This is when you take ownership of something in your business that's not working. So for me, that's the internal, right? So that's the kind of thing that if somebody came by and like audited your business from a business perspective, they may or may not actually see that, right? They might see what are the ultimate tangible results of that change, which is probably more customers, maybe different customers, ideally more money, more impact, a smoother way of running, right? There's obviously like domino effect that obviously affects the external, but if they only looked at the internal, I mean, if they only came to look at your business, they're not going to see the internal. So that's why I'm calling that the internal or the intangible. Does that make sense? Let me know. And then the third type of change that I believe that we create in our business is when we say, I'm leveling up. I'm ready to serve more people. I'm ready to make more, and all of these may go together and all of these may be separate. I'm ready to serve more people. I'm ready to make more money. I'm ready to level up. I think a lot of times for people can mean like change the level of exposure that their business is receiving. So maybe you go from being an online a coach in the online space where the people who are exposed to you are online to then being like interviewed on your local news or have an article from Forbes that's written about you, right? Like now you're elevated, now your exposure is different, your impact is different. Okay, but I kind of feel like impact is like the people that you're working with, but I'm thinking like, who is aware of you, right? Are you a Deepak Chopra type person, but you're working in a smaller space? Or are you Deepak Chopra where the whole freaking world knows who you are? That's leveling up, right? And there's everything in between. The next step up for you is whatever is leveled up. That doesn't, and that's just one example. So that for me is like exposure and you're like how big you are, how well known you are. But then there's also the level up of I'm ready to double my income next year. I'm ready to I'm ready to increase my impact. I serve these people and I want to be able to serve more people in a deeper, or I want to be able to serve people in a deeper way. Okay. Let me know if that makes sense. So change happens to you versus you create it. And then there's a little hybrid. And then under the umbrella of you create your change, we have the tangible, like kind of tactical. Sometimes it's tactical. Maybe you change direction, you serve different people, your strategy changes. Then there's the internal, what's going on with you inside. And then there's the we are changing this business. We are leveling up this business in a certain way. And oftentimes, as you can see, as I'm talking about these, they also go together. But usually there is an initial, hopefully, and this is my challenge to you. If you're feeling like you want to make 19 changes in your business, which ones fall into which categories, and that might actually help you figure out which ones need to be implemented first, second, and third, because you do have to prioritize. I say this with love, but so many business owners try to be all things to all people, or try to make all the changes that they want to make in the moment that it occurs to them. And then you spend your whole life making changes and doing back end stuff and not serving the people that you are there to serve. So it's always a choice, right? It's always a choice. So the other thing that I want to say is, when you think about the internal part, that is required by all other types of change. You've got to manage what's going on within you when change happens upon you, right? The only way out of that weird, wonky transition zone, or neutral zone, especially when change happens to you, is to deal with what's going on within you, to deal with the emotions, to deal with the wonky energy, to deal with the discomfort of the unknown. When change happens to you, when you create change and it's something external, this is where I think a lot of people miss the boat on mindset work, because mindset work, if you do everything in your business in an aligned way, then you're also doing the mindset work that's needed, even when you're changing your strategy. Because when you change your strategy, maybe your mindset shifts help you decide which strategy to choose. And I always think that once we make a decision to shift our strategy, then our mindset's got to line up with that strategy. Because if I have a problem being visible and I change my strategy that requires me to be on video all the time, great, cool. If that's still the decision I make, there's nothing wrong with that, but they've got to line up, right? Because if I don't want to be visible and I've chosen to go, be visible, I'm making a really dramatic example, but everything's got to line up. So mindset work is important, even for the pieces that seem tactical, practical. So that's one of my number one things for you is, like, if you're making tactical, practical changes, awesome. Make sure you're in alignment too on the inside. And then if you're leveling up, this last piece, this last type of change, if you're leveling up, if you want to make a bigger impact, if you want to make more money, if you want to advance yourself in your craft, right? Whatever leveling up is for you, holy hell, you better get your mindset into that, right? Because you've got to align energetically, emotionally, mentally to the bigness, that's a word now, that you're creating. To the next level, you've got to be able to hold the energy at that next level in your craft, behind the scenes, with your team, in your marketing. All of that has to be, I'm not saying you have to go back and recreate the wheel for every aspect of your business if you're going to level up. In fact, I believe that you shouldn't. But do you see how energetically you've got to be different? How mentally and emotionally you've got to be different, or leveled up is maybe a better way to say it, not different. Okay. Let me know. I see a lot of people live, but I'm not seeing any comments. So just let me know if this is making sense. I am going to pause for questions. These are the different types of changes. I want to talk a little bit about why this is, one more time about why this is important, and then we're going to get into, okay, how do you boldly step? Okay. Questions, comments? Is it making sense? Okay, makes sense. Thank you, Allison. I know there's a huge delay because I asked if it made sense like 9 years ago. You guys are just now hearing me completely. Okay, awesome. So a couple of more things I want to say about these. Does anybody have any other types of change? If you have another type of change, let me know. And be thinking like, what's happening with you in your business? Because I'd love to know here in a minute, what's happening with you in your business? Which group are you in? Are you making a change? Which change are you, where are you in that? Which category do you feel like you're sitting in? Okay. Dawn says, I was in tears about this. Ask for help and then got your notification. Whoa, dude. Oh, Dawn, man, I'm so glad because I haven't seen you on these lives in a while. And oh my gosh, the timing, I really believe in timing. I really believe that I actually posted something yesterday about community. There's been some magic in this community since it first started, but it has gotten stronger and more. There's a lot more synchronicity happening. There's a lot more people having similar experiences and having synchronicities and things happening, divine timing, exactly. And oh my gosh, it just gave me chills. Yes. So let me know, Dawn, what feedback you have, what feedback I can give you, what coaching I can give you, what's going on with you, which section of change, your category of change you're in. I'd love to be able to support you and give you guys, all of you, some coaching if you need it. Debbie says, makes a lot of sense. Change is inevitable and we do need to understand it. Exactly right. And change can be fun too, right? But it's also like something we've got to be intentional about what happens with ourselves inside, right? Okay. So again, drop me a comment. Let me know what, thank you for the hearts. Let me know what section of change or what category of change you're in. So a couple other just little points I wanted to make about, points I wanted to make about this. So again, understanding what category of or what type of change you're in sometimes can help you see it more clearly. I think that's really important to just know where you are. I also think that when you know what category of change you're in, and a lot of times there's a hybrid, it helps you plan it out better, right? So as I was saying, if you're wanting to make a whole bunch of changes, if you can identify which changes fall into which buckets, it's going to start to be a little bit more clear, like, okay, time out. If I want to level up and I have some mindset issues I'm ready to release, and I want to change my strategy, maybe I need to focus on what is it that I'm leveling up and then have my strategy match it and then have my mindset match that, right? So you can work on them at the same time, but also not overwhelm yourself, right? So I think it helps you plan it. I think it helps you stay focused. I think it helps you prioritize. And again, as I said a minute ago, or I think I said this, let's say you're in the leveling up space. I choose to level up. Okay, level up doesn't mean, sometimes it does, but most of the time leveling up doesn't mean burn it out of the ground and start over, right? Most of the time leveling up means start from where you are and build from that. So we have this idea that, well, if I want to level up, then shit, I got to change my social media strategy, and I need to hire 8 people, and I need somebody to write all my copy, and and my website's crap too, so that's going to have to go. It's got to be changed. Like, then I need to, I've got to start networking in 4 different new places, and right, like, can you see how that's actually a reaction to this desire to level up that doesn't fall into alignment? So getting clear about what it is that you're changing, doing it from a Zen knowing place. If you're not clear even about that, go back to some of the lives that I've done recently around like tapping into your knowing, tapping into intuition, making decisions from that knowing space instead of thinking. And for sure not from a space of responding or reacting. Like, I gotta level up, so everything's gotta change. Actually, what's working? Let's keep that. What's not working or what's not in alignment with where we're going, and then you start to line things up. But it can be done in a calm, clear, Zen knowing way without being anxiety producing or too much anxiety producing. I think a little bit of anxiety, I don't like that word. A little bit of nervousness, a little bit of fear is actually sometimes really good, because it means that you're probably doing something that's outside your comfort zone, which means that you're growing, which means that you have an opportunity to really level up. That's, to me, leveling up. Okay. Helps you prioritize, it helps you stay focused, it helps you plan it, helps you see it more clearly. And again, I believe that at some point in your process, the internal mindset work and the external tactical, practical taking an action that's aligned to these changes, you have to always have both of those. Any type of change is going to require both an internal shift and some sort of, I'm going to call it external, but some sort of tactical, practical action steps to get there. So if you change your pricing, for example, and let's pretend your pricing is listed on your website, then you can change your pricing all you want in your head and you can do all your mindset work around your pricing. That's great. But until you go onto your website and actually change the pricing hasn't been changed, right? So both have to happen. Or you can go, oh, okay, I'm just going to raise my prices. And you go in and quickly like throw it onto your website and you change it, but you didn't do the mindset work on the inside to line yourself up with that price. You're not going to be able to hold that price. Right? So both have to happen. Okay. Hopefully that makes sense. I would love to know what's going on with each of you who are live in your business. If you want to share, if you feel comfortable sharing, or which category of change are you in? I'd be happy to give you, or any questions that you have about your change, I'd be happy to give you some coaching about that. So while you're typing that in, I'm going to go ahead and move on, but I will come back to your comments here in a minute. So how do we step boldly into our next chapter? Some of it is what we just discussed, understanding the type of change we want to make, or the type of change that, well, usually we know that change happened to us. Understanding the type of change, the category of change, helps us understand it better. And then defining that change. So maybe, okay, maybe you, let me think about which example I want to use. Maybe, okay, maybe I feel like money is a really big one at this point. So I'm just going to use this. Allison says, I feel like I am up. Oh, I misread your thing. I feel like I'm up leveling at this point in time. I feel like you are too. I feel like you are too. Actually, I know that you are. You are. It's happening. It happened today, actually, for you. So let's say that you want, I'm going to just use an example of, let's say that you want to make more money on your business. Who doesn't? So you want to make more money. Okay. I think it's important to start with not only understanding what type of change you're in. So if I want to make more money, that to me is a leveling up change. Okay. So I want to level up from a financial perspective. Okay. So now I understand that that's my general goal. Okay, yay. But what and why and why? What specifically, right? Is it I want to go from 5K months to 10K months? Is it I want to increase my income from my group program specifically? Is it, what is it specifically? I want to make more money is great, and that's awesome. But can you get more clear, and can you clearly define not only the category of change that you're in, but what you want to change? Specifically what you want to change. And it's really, 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 really important to know why you want to change it. Because just wanting more money isn't really a why. It's not really a reason, right? It's just wanting, what is it? Is it that you want to feel more secure financially? Is it that you have a goal of a lifestyle that you would like to have that you don't have right now, that more money would get you there? Is there a house you want to buy? Is there a project you want to fund with your money? Are you waiting to make X dollars before you have children? What is it? What's your why for any of these changes? Okay, so can you see the difference between I want some money, I want to make more money, and I found a house an hour away that I'm so in love with, and I want to live there. And I want my lifestyle in that house because I can see how I will be close to the people that I want to be close to and the places that I want to be close to. And I can see that there's nature outside my window, and I can see that my life will be infinitely better when I get that house. But at the moment, I can't qualify for a loan. So I want more money to come through my business because I know that that dream house is mine, and I'm ready to create and do what I need to do to get myself there. That's a why, right? And oh, by the way, I'm creating that's a tangible shift, right? I want something specific that's external, that's tangible. Okay. And then let me finish my example, and then I want to get to Debbie's comment because I think this is a good one. And then I have my external thing that I want. Awesome. What external steps am I going to take? And this may or may not be in the right order, but depends on you. What external steps am I going to take to get myself to that house? Right? I got to have a loan officer. I got to have a real estate agent. I might need a financial planner because want to use the money that I do have it make sure that I'm saving and creating interest, and maybe I want to invest in something so that money is growing while I'm also growing my business, right? Whatever it is, what's your big financial plan? So I've got these like tangible tactical things. But then I also got to work on what's going on the inside so that when I do get that money, I can hold it. I can put it into the intention that I accept for it. And I can line up energetically and mentally with the new clients I want to serve and how I'm going to do that. And then, oh, by the way, I'm going to pull in more tactical, practical into my business, because if I'm going to create more money, I probably need to have some back-end systems that support that. I need to have a team that supports that. I need to create space in my calendar for more clients or whatever it is, right? So that's why it's important to define the change. I'm going to read Debbie's comment here. I'm noticing internal change in me and what I want and I need. Oh, wait. I'm noticing internal change in me and what I want, and I need to see how that emerges and then begin to incorporate into what we offer at Primrose. Yeah, awesome. So I feel like, Debbie, what you're saying is I have this internal change, and once I get further along in my shifting process, then it will be very clear what tactical, practical, external steps I need to take and what that means for Primrose, and whether we're leveling up or we're moving in a different direction or whatever, right? Debbie runs a really amazing holistic wellness center with lots of different practitioners who offer different modalities. Really amazing, really, really amazing. I think that is the future. I hope that is the future of wellness for us as humans. Because we got to look at our bodies holistically. Yep. Okay. So how to step boldly into your next chapter. Number one, define your change. What category are you in? What specifically do you want to change? Dawn is giving you some hearts, Debbie. What specifically do you want to change and why? Why? It's really, really important. I feel that is a whole nother life. So I'm going to stop. Dawn says that is my desire. Awesome. So once you've defined the change, especially once you can get it a little bit more clearer and a little bit more defined, then I feel like it's a lot easier, hopefully, to make a decision. Sometimes we need to do mindset work just to simply make a decision, right? But here's the thing I want to say about decisions, and I talk about decisions a lot because I think, first off, as business owners, we have to make a lot of decisions, and it's really important to be able to trust yourself. And when you can't trust yourself, holy crap, it just makes everything take so much longer, because you make a decision and then you don't stick to it. Or you make a decision, you half-ass stick to it in practice, but internally you're just doubting yourself and wondering if you should have done something different. That's not an efficient way to be. And as solopreneurs, most of you are solopreneurs, many of us are solopreneurs or small teams in this group and artists. You don't really have the luxury of being super inefficient, right? Of slowing yourself down in business decisions. Okay, I'm getting really hot. So making a decision is, I think, one of the most important skills that you can improve upon as a business owner. And I think it's a long-term practice, and I think it's a lifelong practice. And I think it's just something that we can always, always, always get better at. And it just makes life easier and simpler. So make a decision, do it from, if you have a hard time making decisions, go back to some of my other lives about tapping into your intuition, about making decisions from a space of knowing, not thinking, not reacting, not responding to fear, but I know who I am. I know what I do. I know who I serve. And I know that this is the next best step for me. And I also trust myself, and I commit to this decision. And I also trust myself that if this decision no longer makes sense, I will know that, and I will be able to make the adjustments necessary in the future. Sometimes that's the piece that gets people wrapped around the axle is, but if I make a decision, I can never turn back. But if I make a decision, I'm screwed, right? I moved to a whole nother country 1.5 years ago. It didn't change my commitment to this move to be able to tell myself, if you get there and you spend enough time there to give it a chance and you don't like it, you can go somewhere else. It didn't change my commitment. I brought my cat with me. And he made me promise him that I would never take him on an airplane again. So I was committed. And I also trusted myself to make that big of a decision. And I also trusted myself to make that big of a decision again as needed. Otherwise, I never would have gone anywhere, because I would have had, it's like that's like saying, you can never get divorced if your husband turns out to not be the right person for you, right? Or wife turns out to not be the right person for you over time, as you evolve over time, right? Nobody hopefully gets married thinking they're going to get divorced. But it doesn't change your commitment level to just know that you can also trust yourself to make a different decision down the road that is also good for you, which ultimately means I long-term forever trust myself to make the right decision for myself in the moment. This is the right decision for myself in the moment. This is the right decision for my business in the moment. And I'm moving forward with commitment. I'd love to know how that resonates with you guys. Let me know. If you're on the replay, let me know how this resonates with you too. Just tag me and I will come back in and comment. Let me know if you have questions too, especially those of you on the replay. So making a decision from that space and then committing to it. So committing to it doesn't mean, I think I'm going to do this. Making a decision is making a decision. And that's why the very next step for me is you make a decision and you follow it up with action. I'm changing my pricing. I'm going to follow it up with action. I'm going to call my coach and we're going to have a whole session about these prices, because I know I have to change my prices and I know I feel a little uncomfortable about it. And I want to firm up my mindset around these prices and firm up my energy around these prices. And then I'm going to go onto my website and change my pricing. I don't know why that's my example, because my prices are not on my website, but that's my example for today. So firm commitment, not being wishy-washy, making a decision, knowing, committing to the decision. Committing to a decision is more than anything, it's committing to yourself. It's trusting yourself to make that decision. And again, trusting yourself that if that's not the right decision down the road, you will know and you will adjust. Action has to line up with where you're going. Action has to line up with the decision that you made. That's why so many people talk about not hustling, because hustle is all action without all the other stuff lined up. That's hustle. You can work really hard, but if you do it from a space of knowing and a space of being really, really clear and intentional about what you're doing, that's not hustling. my opinion. That's my definition. That's not hustling. You don't have to hustle in your business in order to make money. You might have to work hard at certain points, and whatever work hard means to you is that's a whole nother life too. But working hard and taking action that's inspired, that's aligned, that makes sense to you and your knowing, that feels zen and clear, that's just running your business. That's just owning your craft and being a business owner and doing your thing in the world. That's awesome. That feels good. And then the final piece around this is, or the final two pieces around this is, to me, with action must go mindset. Action, mindset, action, mindset, action, mindset, action, mindset. When I'm working on something, I like to take an action, even if it's a baby step action. I like to take an action towards my ideal way of being, an action that supports the other way of being from what I'm working on in my mindset, so that I can move into the new with an action. So I'll give you an example that I shared with my Evolve group last year, that I just think is a really great example. So when I was working on not overgiving and putting myself first and taking better care of me before taking care of others, right? I know lots of you are probably, that's one of your things. So when I was working on that, I had a coach. I was working on that from that perspective. And I also started taking some actions to really clean up my energy and put some tangible things out there that lined up to the new chapter that I was stepping into, of really loving myself at a deeper level, right? And honoring that with action by putting myself first and not taking care of others when it would mean a sacrifice for me. Doing that over and over and over again, overgiving. So for me, I did two things. One, I changed my schedule in my calendar for work instead of making it too available. And I started to block off time for me. I started to block off, and I created that first. I actually, that's not even true. I redid the whole calendar too. I redid it, and I first put in blocks for myself. And then I built my work around the me part. I just changed my calendar. Like, outwardly facing it didn't mean anything, but on the inside, it was a whole new energy and a whole new way of working with my clients. Nobody's ever going to see on the outside, right? Intangible internal change. Or maybe, I guess, like my VA would have seen my calendar if I'd had one back then. But I took that tactical, practical step in the alignment of that new chapter, with the mindset of that new chapter of, I'm going to say that I'm going to put myself first, but now I'm going to back it up with action. So I made a decision to do the work. Then I backed it up with action. I worked on it with my coach, and then I created a new calendar situation for myself. And then finally, I enacted this lovely little practice where every single morning, so I have a cat who is very bossy. He's in charge. This is his house, not mine. His name is George. And I love him dearly, but he is the boss. Like, he is very sassy. He always tells me what he wants all the time. And I'm, doing it right or wrong, right? And when I wake up in the morning, people who have pets and people who have children, like, the first thing is, meow, please feed me. Like, I'm like still half awake. Usually I call him my alarm clock too, because usually he's the one that wakes me up. Mom, please feed me. Mom, please feed me. Mom, please feed me. So what's the first thing that I was waking up to every morning was somebody needing me to give something to them. Now I'm happy to give to him because he gives to me every day. We have a very appropriate, like, give and take relationship, but because I was practicing this in myself, I changed my morning routine. Even though he meows at me, I first go and set up the coffee maker every morning first. So the first thing I do every morning is I pour the water and I do the measurements and I set it up and I turn it on, because that's for me. And then I go over to his food bowl, and now he follows me. He follows me to the coffee maker, and then he keeps meowing, but he's cool. He knows it's coming. And then we both go over to his bowl and I feed him. Right? So I back that up with action. I made the decision to change. I called my coach and we had some sessions around it. I changed my calendar, and then and the calendar, again, seemingly tiny change, huge impact, because I stepped into the new with that action. And then I made this other seemingly tiny change that's a tactical, an external change. You would have seen that. Like, if you lived with me, you would have noticed because you can't help but notice how mouthy this cat is, right? That I didn't immediately get up and respond to his needs. I first took care of mine, one of mine. Okay, let me know if this makes sense. I'm going to wrap this up here in just a minute. And then the final piece of this, so define the change and know your why. Make a decision. Action and mindset go together to align with that decision. And then commit to the decision again. Keep committing to your decision. And I don't mean to say that with in a rigid way, because you already made that decision knowing that you trust yourself to make another decision down the road if that's what's appropriate. But you stick to your decision. You stick with it. You don't say, I'm going to make a change in my strategy, but after 30 days of doing this new strategy in my business, I don't think it's working, so I'm going to do something different. That's not sticking with it. 30 days of changing something in your business is not enough time to get enough data to know if it works. Just not enough time. So sticking with it. Also, the other thing that I really, really, really feel, Dawn says I needed to hear that I really feel for a lot of you, and this came up in the intuitive reading on Monday. If you missed that reading, please go back and watch the replay. It is absolutely for you too. There were a lot of beautiful messages in there. There was a big message in there about focus. And I think focus goes really hand in hand and many times with commitment, because, hey, I made this decision to move, right? Let's say, no, that's not a good decision. I mean, a good example. Let's say I made a decision to change my strategy, okay? And I've done it for 30 days and I don't really see a difference yet. And somebody calls me and says, hey, Laura, I'm a coach and I offer support to help people on this strategy over here. Do you want to come? I think that it would work really well for your business. Do you want to start working with me? Sticking with it doesn't mean that you can't engage this person down the road, but you just 30 days ago made a decision. You worked on your mindset. You took clear action. You created this new strategy. You aligned yourself to it. You trusted yourself to make the right decision. And you're still mid-implementation. Are you going to then change your strategy because you don't trust yourself, because you don't trust the decision you made, because you don't know if it's going to work? Well, you never know if it's going to work. You got to give it a chance to work. Don't quit too soon, and don't allow the distractions to pull you out of alignment or to slow you down or to make you go half-ass in the direction towards your strategy that you just chose because you're not really sure. So you're going to just go check your bases. Right? One of the things that I used to do when I was in high school, when I first learned how to drive, is I would turn on the radio and I'm like, oh my God, I love this song. But first I would check the other 4 stations just to make sure I didn't love something else better. On the one hand, it's not a big deal, right? With the radio, but that's the image that I was just being given. So somebody that's going to resonate with. How many times do you get excited about something you're doing in your business and then only give it this much time until you're kind of on to the next thing? Or you go, yeah, okay, I'm going to keep doing that, but I'm going to just check these things first. Trusting yourself as a business owner, trusting yourself to run your business is the best thing that you can do for yourself. Okay. I hope this makes sense. My sweet spot, one of my passions in this world is helping people navigate change, whichever type of change you are navigating. If you have not heard me talk about this Evolve group coaching program, please go check out the stuff in the Facebook group. Briefly, it is a full-on pathway. It's a approach. It's a framework. It's a very carefully constructed live coaching program where I help you walk through the process of making one of these changes. And I do request or recommend that you do one at a time. But they can be really big. People that ran through Evolve last year made such huge changes, both in their mindset and in their businesses. So if you want some support in this area, it starts in 1 week from today. So there's not a whole lot of time left, but there is still time to jump in. There's still time to hop on a call with me if you have questions about how this might work for your business. I would love to support you. and I would love to see you inside this program. I just changed a couple of weeks ago or I just added a new payment plan. So the in full price is $14.99, but you can do a payment plan there's several payment plans on the website, but you can do it for as low as $185 a month. So you can totally come to this program for less than $200 a month. So don't let money be an issue. If you have a question, let me know. This is the frame. We are going to walk through a framework that helps you move into your next chapter with that space of knowing, with the ability of choosing actions that feel good and that feel aligned, with helping you make that decision. I'm going to hold you to make your decision because you can make a decision for yourself and you can stick to it. Huge, huge, huge epic mindset work. I call module 2, there's 3 modules in this program, and I call module 2 mindset bootcamp because it is like, we are going in and we're figuring out what's in the way, and we're going to clear it and heal it and move into our next chapter. And for sure, the commitment piece is there too. So come in to Evolve. Let me know if you have questions. I believe in this program so, so much. It is one of the best things that I have done in my 3.5 years in business. So let me know if you have questions. Let me know if you have questions about the live today. Thank you so much for joining me, those who were live. If you're on the replay, let me know that you're on the replay. Let me know if you have questions, tag me and I will come back in, or just comment. Let me know what change you're enacting in your business. Where are you in your next chapter? What type of change is it? Have you defined it? How are you doing with your decisions and your mindset and your action and your commitment? And then next week, I'm in here, for those of you who haven't joined me live in a while, I'm in here every single Wednesday at this time. So I go live every single Wednesday, and every week is a different topic. Next week, you guys, I'm so excited. I'm so excited about next week. It's called Fall in Love with Marketing and Advertising. So for all of you who hate it, if you hate social media, if you hate doing content, or if maybe you're just not in love with it, right? You don't have to hate it. But I know so many people who do, who really just wish that that part of business was not a thing that you had to do. And I will be honest, I avoided that for a very, 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 very long time. Not that I did zero, but I tried to do zero. Marketing and advertising for a long time. And so I have a lot of empathy for those of you who don't like this piece of business. And I have a reframe that I want to offer you next week around how you might fall in love with your advertising and your marketing, because it's so important. And we all know it's important, but when we dislike something in our business, it does not make it easier. And it typically just kind of wonkifies, is that a word? Your energy in your business. And so the cleaner you can get your energy, the more fun you're going to have in your business. And then the easier it's going to be for you to attract the people that you're looking for. And then you can go do the part that you really love, which is your craft. So definitely come next week or catch the replay. There will always be replays here in the group. Thank you everybody for participating. Dawn says me. Dawn, do you hate it? Come next week, come next week. And please come next week, like ready to dump on it, because the very first thing we're going to talk about next week is like, what do you hate about it? Because I think sometimes it's important when you're so annoyed with something to just first get it out before you try to like change somebody's mind and like shift your perspective, like get it out, because there's a lot of reasons to hate it. And I'm not usually one to hate on something, but I think this is going to be like, let's just sort of set the intention now that as a group, we're going to energetically clear some of this stuff as a group. So come with your questions. Come with the part of you, the part of even not just if that's the part of your business that you dislike the most, what part of marketing and advertising, like what is it? Think about it between now and next week. What is it specifically that you don't like? I bet in some ways you know, but in other ways if you take a minute and think about it, you'll probably have an aha. And that's one of the things that I highly recommend that you do when you're struggling with a piece of your business. Figure out what it is that you dislike so much. Can you define it? Just like we're defining the change, we're defining the new chapter that we want to move into. Can you describe what it is that you're disliking about this part of your business? So come next week. I really, really hope, I almost said guarantee, but I really, really hope that I can blow your mind and change your perspective, at least shift your perspective into hating it less. If that's all I can do, I've done my job, because we've got to move into the space of embracing that part of our business at a better level. That's a piece that I think a lot of people struggle with. So come with your hate, come with, why did I just say that? Come with your disgruntledness, bring your questions, bring your resistance. We will honor that and honor where you are. And I also hope to shift your perspective, because there is a way to look at marketing and advertising, I believe, with a spiritual lens, with a space of everybody in this group so heart-centered and so full of love and light. And there's got to be a way to do that in your marketing too. So that is my plan for next week. I hope you will join me. Again, one more week until Evolve. So by the time next week we have that live, Evolve will have already started. So if you want to join, please reach out to me now. I will put the link here in the comments as soon as I close. Reach out to me if you want to have a call, or you can just join. You don't have to have a call with me, but a lot of people like to just talk it through. If you sign up for Evolve, everybody who signs up for Evolve will also get a free intuitive business assessment, which is essentially a 30-minute reading of your business. I do a full intuitive assessment. I tap into the guides. I do an intuitive assessment of all aspects of your business to help you get a sense of what is not working, what is working, where you can focus your attention and evolve. Come and join me. Have a lovely day. Thank you for joining me today. Please come join me every Wednesday, or every Wednesday that you can. Catch the replays when you can't. And I will see you soon. Much love. Thanks, everybody.